We're in the book of Galatians, chapter 6, beginning in verse 7. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. I recently heard a prominent radio preacher speak on this passage in Galatians, and he made a very important observation. In the modern Christian world, it's not popular to speak about the consequences of sin. People today want to underscore the forgiveness of God, which is a fantastic thing to underscore. But we seem to live under the illusion that once you've asked for forgiveness, all of the consequences of your actions get swept under the rug and you're never going to have to deal with it. But it's not the biblical pattern. Even though God loved Moses and forgave him, Moses still didn't get to go into the promised land. Even though God loved David and forgave him, there was still a price to pay for cheating with Bathsheba. And David wasn't allowed to build the temple because of the bloodshed on his hands. Your acceptance with God and your forgiveness are absolutely certain if you claim them. I can say that because I have thousands of biblical promises to stand on that guarantee God's mercy and love. But at the same time, the whole story of the Bible, in fact, the whole story of the human race, is the sordid tale of what happens when you choose to live apart from God. And while God's forgiveness is absolutely available when we sin, it's not the best case scenario. Now, please don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to downplay the mercy of God or our need for His forgiveness, but there is something better than asking God to forgive some particular sin you've committed. And that's to not commit the sin in the first place. Let's be honest about this subject. I know that we have a weakened, sinful disposition that makes us vulnerable to the devil's attacks. And I know that years of caving in have made us less and less able to resist. But you can't get around the fact that the Bible places hazard signs in front of the Christian, warning us not to sin. You will reap what you sow, the Bible says right here in the book of Galatians. Do not let sin reign in your body, Paul writes in Romans chapter 6. When Paul writes about the power of the resurrection in 1 Corinthians 15, he says, "Awake to righteousness and sin not." The fact remains that every time we commit a sin, it's because we wanted to do it. We made a choice. Our willpower might be weakened by years of sinning, but we still made the choice to do it. And that also means through the power of a risen Christ, through the power of someone who has actually conquered the grave, we can choose not to do it too. And quite frankly, given the choice between cleaning up a terrible mess and not making that mess in the first place, you know which one is the better way to live.